So with these settings, our render has converged as far as we told it to go in just over an hour, which is not bad. This is a big enough image to go pretty well at the top of a website or in a sidebar of a brochure or something, so not exactly poster size, but an hour is still pretty reasonable for an image like that, so not bad for a progressive render. Now the highlights back here, there's still a little bit of noise left, and if this was an animation, we'd want to watch this closely to be sure that it was not going to be fizzing along on us. But if it were an animation, we would not at this point be using the progressive render, and so there's a lot of other tuning we would have to do for that. So more on that another time. But I think overall I'm pretty pleased with this. I like that you can see a hint of our LED reflecting in the tabletop, and the machine looks like a piece of kit. Looks like it could be there. So I will save this as a layered file, and EXR half 16-bit is probably good enough for most reasonable purposes. It is much better than saving to an integer format like JPEG or something. EXR is really pretty nice, and it'll save layers, and it will save enough bit depth to do some serious adjustments on in post if you need to. So pulled our render into After Effects just to have a look at what we've got, and set an appropriate bit depth, and gonna have a look. Very first thing I'm going to want to do is tell it to ignore that alpha channel, just so it leaves the environment alone. Looks basically like you might expect, but if I take this, duplicate, and pop on extractor, first off, it linearizes by default, but we have all of these output sets in there. So indirect illumination, or reflection shading, and let's see, all of our mattes are in here, so those don't come through as sets, but I could say clamp matte, LED matte, lid matte, and look at those as separate color channels. Now, one thing that you might notice is that these single channel mattes are coming through as .r channels, which doesn't really make any difference to After Effects. It's just a channel is a channel, and you can assign whatever you want. If you're working in Nuke, it will look at these .r things and adjust brightness accordingly. So it'll think this is a single, it's 1/3 of an RGB set, and Nuke will interpret this as, being like 1/3 brightness. If you're going from the preview render in Modo directly into Nuke, it might be better to save individual images for each layer, just so that you have control over what the channel is called, and you don't have to do all sorts of correction in there. So once you've rendered all these layers, you can use them to do stuff, or just look at your pretty image. That's pretty much that.